Every century is defined by its most ambitious inventors, men and women who can find issues and nuisances in our world and create solutions that others would hardly be able to dream of. The 20th century brought great minds like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, but now that humanity is bathing in the light of the traveler, Windows and Apples aren't the inventions that will define a generation, because the problems we need to solve are trying to kill us. If someone or something is trying to kill you, push them with the Tractor Cannon and they'll think twice before trying to square off with you again. Its exotic perk is Repulsor Force. This weapon emits a powerful impulse that pushes enemies away. It also suppresses them and makes them take increased void damage for about 8 seconds. Now this exotic perk is a bit strange. The Tractor Cannon is a shotgun at heart, so pushing enemies away from you and outside of your effective range isn't necessarily what you want to do. Thankfully, the scientists that made this knew that going in. The second unique perk on this weapon is aptly named the Scientific Method. Damaging an opponent temporarily increases your movement speed and weapon handling, so you boop enemies with your repulsor and chase after them with your increased movement speed to finish the job if they weren't completely obliterated by your initial blast. The Tractor Cannon shotgun has become one of the best shotguns available in the game because of the synergy between its perks and the synergy it has with other void weapons and abilities. The ability to increase a target's void damage taken from all sources provides unprecedented support for fire teams. If you've got a designated debuffer on your team supported by Void Walkers, Night Stalkers, Sentinels, or just people with void-based power weapons, you won't find many enemies that will live longer than a few seconds. If they do, you might want to run. The Tractor Cannon is a fantastic gun, and short of having the ability to rip a hole in the space-time continuum, I can't see myself taking it off. With that said, I think the makers of the Graviton Lance realized they had to make something powerful enough to rip holes in the space-time continuum to pry the Tractor Cannon out of Guardian's hands. So they did, and it's amazing. The Graviton Lance's unique perk is Black Hole. It fires in 2-shot bursts. The first is a low damage shot, and the second shot deals massive damage with no damage fall off. In other words, it has unlimited range. Its second unique perk is a smarter version of Dragonfly. Kills with this weapon cause enemies to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track enemies. The Graviton Lance is an amazing gun, and the choice between using it versus the Tractor Cannon is difficult. But there are a few problems with the Lance that push me towards using the gun that pushes things. First, although it's categorized as a pulse rifle, if we're being honest, it's a high-impact scout rifle. Kind of. The first bullet that gets fired from the gun feels more like a technical issue that wasn't worked out before production started. Its damage is negligible, and it causes a negligible amount of recoil, so it can be almost entirely ignored. But you can't ignore it completely if you want to deal your maximum potential damage with the weapon. Because of this weird quirk, the Graviton Lance feels like an inconsistent pulse rifle or a scout rifle with a delay before the real bullet comes out. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but there are things that have always irked me about the Graviton Lance. But you know what? I don't think my complaints matter. This isn't the most beautiful gun ever made, the 2-shot burst feels clunky, and the Graviton Lance makes an awful sound, but it creates a devastating light show like nothing I've ever seen. It's beautiful enough to bring tears to my eyes, however I can't in good conscience say it will define our generation. The Tractor Cannon is a shotgun designed to obliterate everything in its path and push away the things it can't. Its void damage resistance debuff forces Guardians and their fire teams to think carefully about their loadouts and team composition in ways they wouldn't have to otherwise. And finally, it looks cool. Instead of being a square brick with a trigger and a scope attached, it's a Mega Man style gauntlet that makes you feel like a super fighting robot. The Graviton Lance is a great weapon, but it doesn't have the heart or the body of the Tractor Cannon, so when push comes to shove, the Graviton Lance will be pushed to the sidelines of history. And there we go. It's weapons like these that make me wish that you could equip more than one exotic weapon at a time. But unfortunately you can't, so most of the time I'm wearing the Tractor Cannon and wishing I could use the Graviton Lance. And then sometimes I'll use the Graviton Lance and wish I could use the Tractor Cannon. I'm really in love with both of these guns. It's hard to choose between them, but I will say the Tractor Cannon gets a leg up. With all of that said, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you had to choose to only equip one of these guns for the rest of your time playing Destiny 2, which one would it be, the Graviton Lance or the Tractor Cannon? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.